What's up, everyone? Welcome to this solo episode of my YouTube channel slash podcast. Just wanted to come on here and talk through just one of the challenges I've been having as I've been leaning more into creating content. And it's one particular challenge that I think is more prevalent than ever before. And it's gotten me to really just think through and almost hold me back in a lot of different ways. And it is cancel culture. Cancel culture is, it messes with my head because with cancel culture, I'm afraid of putting things out that people might not like. I'm afraid putting things out that other people can't resonate with. And I think the underlying foundation of just putting something out there, people just don't resonate with the type of content, is that I'm going to disappoint them. And for me, like, I am a person that looks for that validation. And so you sort of get into this cycle of, one, you get into cancel culture, and then that leads, because you're afraid of getting canceled for, let's say, something you say or something somebody doesn't like about you, then you go into this idea of perfectionism where you're now trying to be perfect and create the perfect product and the perfect piece of content in order for somebody to not judge you, and which then causes you to delay the entire process in creating something that actually would be beneficial to somebody else. Or, I mean, it might not even, you could create some inaction and not do anything at all. And then you start to get down on yourself and you're like, dang, why am I not creating? And so it's this whole cycle. Then you think, go back to cancel culture. I know what doesn't help. So I'll go through what doesn't help me, but then also some of the reframes and three things that have helped me create content and just continue to try and create more so despite this fear of getting canceled. Even, if I don't say anything, I guess necessarily bad or anything like that. But I'll tell you what doesn't help and what people typically say. What doesn't help is trying to think about the people. I actually wrote this down because I didn't want to mess this up. What doesn't help me is trying to think about the people that my content will help. For some reason, that isn't good enough. That isn't a good enough reason. And it's not because I don't care about who my content helps. It's more about the fact that there is the possibility that I don't help someone else, and they end up disliking me for whatever reason, which then leads me to overthinking and now trying to make content perfect for absolutely everybody, which is causing then the slowdown and then eventually inaction at some point, just because you get burnt out from overexhausting and overthinking yourself into just the void of nothingness, right? And I think this applies in, so many different avenues, whether you're creating content for in dancing, whether you're creating content and sharing your art. I think it is the artist's journey. And so you're caught in this loop, and also knowing the facts that all of this, like this whole mindset in trying to create content despite of this, and it's okay. Wait, hold on, backtrack. I lost my thought because I took notes. I took notes, and knowing the fact that I'm the only one that's stopping myself. Oh, okay, so what doesn't necessarily help as well when you are trying to think your way out of it and just push full force is knowing that it's just us stopping ourselves. Like, I know there are other influences out there and even just motivational videos where it's like, you're the only one that's stopping yourself. And I'm like, of course I fucking am, but I don't know how to get out of it, because it just makes me honestly feel shittier. Like, damn, I'm not sharing my work of art because of myself, and now I feel even like more of a piece of shit. And so like, no wonder I can't do this. And then now I'm just like caught up in this whole loop of trying to get out of it by digging myself out and thinking through it. But that thinking is getting me to overthink even more, which then gets me to think that I can't do it. And then you're just thinking, which sucks. So there's three things that I have been constantly reminding myself of, and it's not like every single time I make content I think of these three things strategically. They sort of come up in different places in time that help me to continue to push through. So number one, 80% is good enough. So like a B minus, B plus. It's above average. I was actually listening, or I was on this YouTube mastermind call, and a good friend of mine, Molly, who's a great creator. He has this concept video that's coming out where, B is good enough. And there was this one stat that he had where it was like, I think it was like 80% of people don't meet the threshold of walking 150 minutes per week. And if you break that down, that's only 2 hours a week. So if you, a little over 2 hours a week, right? Almost, you get, a little, I can do math, I swear to God. A little over 2 hours a week, right? And so if you just like walked every day for like 30 minutes, then you'd be able to accomplish it, which is crazy to think that that's 80% of people can't do that. Right? That's a stat. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, 80% is good enough. Like if I make something that I am not necessarily like ecstatic about and I just want to continue to create, or let's say I'm just like, I've been wanting to create this one piece of content and I've been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to make absolutely everything perfect. But then I'm still upset about it. I just think that, hey, I did my best to get to this point. I'm going to share it regardless. It is good enough just to continue to share. So 80% good enough. You don't necessarily need to make it perfect. You just want to continue to push it out there and keep on going and move forward. And I think when you do push that forward, there of course is the sense, and this brings me to number two. There's the potential where somebody's not going to like it, but then there's also the other potential where people might really resonate with it and like really fuck with it, and you might surprise yourself with something that you thought was really bad, and everybody was like, oh man, this is the dopest thing ever. Both from, I guess, like a skills perspective, and then also a validation perspective, because like internally you can look at it and you're like, whoa, I actually kind of like this. Like once you get out of your own head and then and put it aside, and then you go back and you're like, okay, this is pretty good. Or even just on the external side, where somebody is listening or watching your content or whatever, they could be like, yo, that was actually really sick. I really enjoyed it. And you might have not put any work into it at all. I mean, you always hear those stories where YouTubers spend all this time and they think the video is going to be an absolute banger, and then all of a sudden that's the one that gets the least amount of views, but the one that you just happened to throw together and you didn't really think of it and you were just somewhat contemplating on putting it up, that's the one that had a hit. I have no idea why, and I have no why that happens, but apparently it just happens. And so you might surprise yourself. You never really know. And so just keep putting it back out there. And I mean, I think it's also going to build some form of confidence. Actually, you know what this is? This is actually another really interesting point as well. I was listening to a Harry Mack interview, and if you listen to my previous little life rants, I've been obsessed with Harry Mack and just his art form and him building the consistency to continue to hone in on his craft of just freestyle rapping. And he's freestyle raps in front of Kendrick Lamar, Joey Badass, all of these different people. Like, he has this whole series of Omegle bars where people give him 3 words and then he raps just off the top of the head, off the top of the dome, is what he calls it. That's what cool kids call it, off the top of the dome. And he just he raps and he creates this either a song or and just entertains them in some way, shape, or form, incorporating the 30 words. In this interview that he was talking about, he actually said that he's always nervous right before he starts rapping. And considering he's been doing this for 20 years, the fact that there is still that nervousness and an idea that the other person might not like it or you might mess up, it makes me realize that it's okay, and it's also part of the process, right? It's like you're never really going to feel comfortable with it, but that is sort of what separates people. Is do they continue to feel a little bit uncomfortable and just try it out and go for it and just see what happens. And so that was really inspiring for me to hear about that, because I mean, shoot, I'm thinking about my craft all the time, and and he did it enough just to get in front of Kendrick Lamar and rap right next to him, freestyle for him while he was giving out these words on I think it was Power 106 over in LA or whatever. You can look it up. So that was really powerful. And then the last thing, and this is a very particular, specific situation that I constantly think about, especially when I am creating content, and let's say afraid to get canceled, afraid to be judged, is Mr. Beast. If you don't know who Mr. Beast is, that is absolutely wild. I mean, he's the biggest YouTuber of all time. But Mr. Beast, so there were two videos in particular that I think about. I mean, he helped, I think it was like 100 people with their blindness, and he gave them, like, he paid for their surgery in order for them to actually see for the first time. He also, I think he created 100 wells in Africa, right? One, for people, for the video where he was curing blindness, people were trying to cancel him or even just talk shit about him, saying, oh, it only caused a part of blindness. This isn't all what blindness is. And, you're only helping a very particular type of person. And even for the building 100 wells in Africa, people were starting to cancel him because it was like, oh, you're just highlighting what the African government can't do, and then you have a white guy come in and he comes in and saves everything and builds the wells when there's actually an organization that's been doing this and hasn't been getting attention. And well, it turns out that organization was also getting paid like a salary too, and Mr. Beast is just using all of his funds that he's making from his videos to be able to just give back and do something great for these villages over in Africa. And it blows my mind that people could still cancel somebody for doing something so great. Everybody's going to have their own spin-off of what is good and what is bad, and to find something like that within doing something so great that not many people have the opportunity to be able to do, especially just like with his platform in general. If he can get canceled, it's fair fucking game. Like anybody can get canceled for absolutely anything. And so that gives me the solace that, hey, I'm not making that. Of course, I mean, I hope to make that big of an impact at some point in time during my content creation and even in my life. If I ever do get there, but even if I do get there, like, I could be canceled, right? And knowing that he is still going out there and trying to help people, and there's these people that are just commenting and not necessarily giving back anything to society. They're just keyboard warriors and just saying their words, and they can mean very mean things, but me knowing that they're not necessarily creating anything either, it makes me feel better, because now it's like, at least I'm putting myself out there. So yeah, I just wanted to go on this little rant as I am getting into this whole content creation phase and trying to be more consistent with it. I will tell you, Instagram and TikTok are the ones that gives me the most anxiety. I have no idea why. Like, I feel comfortable posting on, well, not so comfortable on Twitter, but like LinkedIn, somewhat, Facebook, Instagram. It's just personal. Like, getting into the whole shorts, it's almost like a very vulnerable feeling. But that's just, a vulnerable moment for myself. Like, I have a bunch of shorts from my, I have a bunch of shorts. I'm wearing shorts right now. Like, I have a bunch of shorts from my podcast videos, some other videos that I have that I just haven't posted. And I know that I should be doing that. I haven't, and I think that's just fear of judgment. So this is more just advice to myself and calling myself out, saying, hey, you probably should just post it and not really care about it, because, just create more content and put it out there. You never know who it'll help out. So that's a note to myself. Keep on creating. Don't let cancel culture stop you. Don't let cancel culture stop me. And as an artist to another artist listening to this, I hope you're creating more. And I'm always, and you know what? If you are an artist and listening to this, please reach out, whether that's going to be on LinkedIn, Instagram. If you have my phone number, sure, shoot for it. Because I want to be able to help and to provide support on your journey as well. Being an artist sometimes is hard and it sucks, and it's a vulnerable process. So would love to connect at some point if you're listening to this and having trouble create. And so let's have a conversation and see how we can keep pushing each other. So thanks, and I hope you're enjoying the day, and I will see y'all next time.